afternoon from Los Angeles, and welcome to Stock Market Today, sponsored by Interactive Brokers. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at Burlington as well as FleetCor and Chipotle. But first, let's take a look at those major indexes. It's Alyssa Coram here with Ed Carson. And Ed, we did see modest gains across the board. The NASDAQ, S&P 500, and Dow all finishing up about 0.2%, tacking on more highs. This uptrend is really looking good still.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but when you have 0.2 gains every day, and that sort of seems like what we've been doing, this is the NASDAQ here. We've basically been riding the 10-day moving average for over a month. Really haven't had any big down days, a lot of just solid sessions. We had some more breakouts today. We're going to talk about some of them, but there are more than those. It's just everything's going fairly well right now.
Yeah, it is, but it's still, as always, really good to keep an eye on the major indexes because we know things can change. But right now, from where we're sitting, the uptrend is still looking very good, which is why it's a great time to be taking a look at all of these breakouts that we're seeing. So let's kick things off with a look at Burlington, which gained about 8.5% today in heavy volume. Now, this stock moved on earnings. It did beat views for the quarter, and I think it's impressive to see where the stock did close today because its earnings guidance was a little light and it still had a pretty powerful gain.
Yeah, it was interesting because it wasn't sure exactly when we opened today how it was going to act, because it would open with a modest gain, but it quickly powered higher. This is sometimes when we talk about on IBD Live and we discussed this stock today, when you have a 5-minute bar, it sort of powered higher and then it kept on powering higher, really showed that strength. Burlington Stores, off-price retailers, you see that it was sort of consolidated for several months. I mean, it had a relatively short base, but it's sort of longer than that. And, it's just really positive action. Ross Stores, I believe, one of its peers, it sort of crept into a buy zone. This is an area of the market that's been doing fairly well.
Yeah, and I do quickly want to reiterate Ed's point about looking at the intraday charts with the 5-minute bar. That's really a good tactic to use for a lot of these earnings moves. So just a good positive indicator. It's not a fail-safe, but it's definitely very, very helpful. We've seen time and again there. You can see it right there. A very helpful tool to use.
Yes.
All right, and moving on, let's take a look at FleetCor. Ticker there is FLT. And this one poked above a buy point today with a gain of almost 3%. Now, volume was about average, but we are seeing this name extending its gains after reporting earnings earlier this month and now in a proper buy zone.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a few payment stocks breaking out. This is definitely a group to watch. One nice thing is that this one was sort of slower moving. We were watching it during IBD Live this morning. It was really just about the time we were signing off. It's like, oh, just got above, so we discussed it a little bit. It's just nice action here. Its growth has accelerated a little bit. It started off as a fuel card sort of provider for fleet operations, but it's made some acquisitions, sort of expanding its horizons. We made it the IBD stock of the day, so we can go into that more if you go onto the website today. So it's definitely one to be looking at, and its peers are going there. So it's sort of, you don't want to be missing out on the payment stocks. Not necessarily you have to buy one, but that's definitely part of the leadership right now.
Yeah, we definitely like looking at stocks that are coming from leading groups, so it's always good to put that into perspective. One thing, though, that I noticed about this is that relative strength line, we ideally like to see that at a new high or maybe even a short-term high when a stock is breaking out. We're not quite seeing that with FleetCor here with this move today, but just something to note.
Yeah, I mean, it had a prior uptrend. I mean, any stock that's consolidating, when it breaks out, it may have a little bit of a lag. I mean, Burlington Stores not so much because it was such a powerful move.
Right.
When you creep above the buy point after a consolidation, when the market keeps on going up and up and up, it's hard to do that. But generally, its relative strength line has been good over the last few years.
Yes, that is a very good point. And last but not least, let's take a look at shares of Chipotle, which gained about 3.6% today, retaking a key technical level. We did have an upgrade for the stock, which I think it was about a 20% or so premium over Monday's closing prices. So a decently bullish call here with Cowen upgrading it to outperform. And Chipotle is expected, according to Cowen, to see strong gains in its digital sales with all of this food delivery trend that we're seeing. And Chipotle expected to benefit.
Yeah, Chipotle has already had huge earnings growth, in part because they've finally belatedly moved into digital sales. They're doing some drive-through lanes. They're calling them Chipotle lanes, which I hope doesn't take off. Chipotle actually had a big winner earlier this year. I know late October, mid-October, it broke down. And if you look, it sort of bottomed earlier this month, right at its 200-day line, but it found support. It's a long-time winner, and it pretty much came right back. It's moving above its 50-day line. A lot of the other restaurant stocks, which are much slower growing, have not done as well, but this one's moving back. It's really not that far from a possible buy point, like about 5%. So definitely one to keep your eye on, because long-time leader, strong growth. It seems like with the menu, the digital offerings, everything's going really well with this stock.
Yes, exactly. A good one for the watch list, like Ed said, about 5% below buy point. And just quickly, some numbers for you to go with some color. The price target that Cowen now has is $9.70. The stock is currently at about $8.15, and it expects the digital sales to nearly double over the next 5 years. So we'll have to see how that goes. But in the meantime, we will keep it on the watch list. All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. And we want to let you know, in case you missed it, we do have a new episode of Investing Strategies live now. And this week we focused on the ESG investing trend, which is great timing because this week's IBD Weekly was all about ESG. And we partnered up with MSCI to come up with a list of 50 leading stocks that have high ESG ratings and high IBD composite ratings. So we talked a little bit about that in the report as well. So it turns out you don't have to sacrifice anything ESG related in order to find stocks that can get some good returns.
Yeah, like Microsoft, and Edwards Life Sciences. When you can get those in that group, you're not giving up anything.
Exactly. All right. Well, make sure you check that out, and thank you all for watching. We will see you right back here tomorrow.